Chapter 2151, Jiyu's Hunting Ground. Jiyu hid in the vast Wulwan Empire, picking out those who were weaker than her. Her ability to completely take over another person's body and memories could not be detected by any advanced equipment. Unless it was an arrow from Yang Xinxin's rules category, forcing her to admit it, who could possibly know who she was? She roamed the Wulwan Empire, ruthlessly hunting down every prey worth hunting. Basically, as long as their ability index exceeded 8,000 points, she would kill them without mercy and then devour their origin, including their abilities. This actually required some time to digest, as it wasn't always a good thing to just devour them. However, the Wulwan Empire launched a full-scale manhunt for her, which annoyed Jiyu a little. The Wulwan Empire was not entirely made up of mediocre people. There were also many highly intelligent investigators who used various methods to pursue and intercept her. Through the Eye of Heaven network, they slowly confirmed that Jiyu had the ability to possess and transform. As a result, the entire country was now on high alert because of this mysterious assassin. The Wulwan Empire's security department took action and implanted life chips in every citizen to test them one by one. These chips were connected to the life signs of the human body. Anyone who showed any abnormalities would be detected by the Imperial Security Department immediately. Because Jiyu's possession was time-limited, the lizard people she killed would begin to rot within 3 days. Therefore, when she started looking for new prey, she would inevitably expose herself to the Imperial Security Department. The hunt began. Jiyu's next opponents were special officers sent by the Empire's Security Department and the Military Investigation Agency. However, during the battle, the Wulwan Empire realized just how terrifying this girl was. This was because they were unable to gather any information about her. She has at least 500 different abilities, and all of our intelligence is completely useless. Any ability used against her will be countered by her ability to suppress it. 3 of the officers we sent out have already been killed. The bad news flew to the upper echelons of the Empire like pieces of paper. When Klot returned to the Wulwan Empire, he was faced with this situation. When he heard the news, he didn't pay much attention to it. As long as the top leaders of the Empire were still there, the unrest below would not shake the foundation, but only cause chaos on a social level. Jiyu was very smart and did not blindly attack the silver armor general-level mutants. It wasn't that they couldn't be defeated. It was because they had gathered a group of powerful forces around them, and they could also mobilize the Wulwan Empire's defense forces. Those were weapons that were even more powerful than the human space-based weapons. Their users could even threaten bishop-level mutants within the Wulwan Empire. Klot found Jinglu and explained his purpose. Those humans are more greedy and cautious than we imagined. According to the information we have gathered, the human with the time and space attribute is an extremely cunning and despicable guy. To lure him out, we must invest more resources to tempt him. Upon hearing this, Jinglu frowned and asked Klot, "You've spent a lot of time and effort setting up traps. Are you sure you can kill him?" In the past, he wouldn't have asked such a question. When he first came into contact with humans, he saw with his own eyes how weak they were. Their size alone was like that of the pets they kept at home. Not to mention that their level of civilization was far inferior to theirs. Just a piece of the source of God that they had discarded was enough to drive them almost crazy. It was like ants picking up a piece of candy dropped by a human child. However, after experiencing various events recently, Jinglu felt an inexplicable sense of unease in his heart. Klot replied without hesitation, "As long as we can lure him into the trap, I will kill him." This was not Klot being arrogant. The power of mutants did not come solely from themselves. It was when they had powerful forces to rely on that they could maximize their power. The trap Klot set up included a space shock device to restrict Zhang Yi's movement, as well as the most advanced weapons and equipment. He had even thought of the worst possible outcome and brought along a doomsday weapon powerful enough to destroy several large cities. He was a cautious lizard man. Jinglu looked at Klot and finally chose to trust this excellent duke. "Alright, you can take 2 more Spirit of Sacrifice. We don't have many left in stock, and we need to save some for future generations." Klot nodded, "Don't worry, I'm just borrowing them, I'll bring them back exactly as they are. A dark look flashed in the depths of his eyes. Clot complained in his heart, in the entire empire, it is your family, Prince Xinglu, who occupies the most resources. Not only do you use them yourself, you also give them to your son. But what is the result? Huh. Not showing it on his face, Clot went to the royal treasury to collect the spirit of sacrifice. He took 2 extra copies of the spirit of sacrifice. Looking at the box containing such important materials, Clot's heart burned with passion. Once he got rid of that human boy, he would keep these things for himself. His talent was almost at its limit, and the spirit of sacrifice was becoming less and less effective, so it was best to leave it for his descendants. That's right, the spirit of sacrifice cannot be used indefinitely. As a pure spiritual energy, there is a limit to how much it can be absorbed, depending on the capacity of the absorber. The greater the capacity, the faster the absorption and the higher the conversion rate. If one's capacity is insufficient, even if one absorbs 100% of the spirit of sacrifice, one may only be able to convert 20% to 30%. This is also why Zhang Yi's promotion was so fast. Needless to say, he was extremely talented, and the baptism of the Sea of Spirit of the Yihen tribe directly elevated his talent to its peak. It could be said that as long as Zhang Yi had a vast amount of spiritual energy, his strength would be limitless. There was an unspoken agreement between Clot and Xinglu. These spirits of sacrifice were his reward for completing his mission. As long as he successfully killed Zhang Yi, Xinglu would have no problem accepting Clot taking these resources. If he didn't need to remain in the Wulwan Empire, Xinglu would have gone to kill his enemy with his own hands. Clot returned to the uninhabited island and, as expected, began to frequently send out signals to let the outside world know that there was a precious treasure here. However, this time, he chose a different approach. That was to convey this signal to the mutants of other countries. There were other countries surrounding the Southern Sea. After their navies discovered this situation, they also began to land on the island one after another and obtain certain resources. Chapter 2152, Charging Complete. News of the suspected source of God or on the uninhabited island spread like wildfire. Zhang Yi received news that many world powers, including Colombia, had received the news. He just smiled and said nothing. The lizard people were still clever. After discovering that they were in no hurry to enter the cave, they began to introduce competitors in order to create a sense of urgency. But Zhang Yi knew very well that the lizard people's target was him. As long as he didn't make a move, even if the others went, they wouldn't get anything really good. At most, they would take away a few fragments of the source of God or the spirit of sacrifice. Let them go. I want to see who is more impatient. Deng Shintong sat next to Zhang Yi, and the two watched an old movie in the living room. Hearing Deng Shintong say this, he shrugged his shoulders, somewhat speechless. Is this the reason why you spared no effort to spread the information? The news that a treasure had appeared on an uninhabited island in the Southern Sea was spread by Zhang Yi. According to the original plan, other countries would receive this news later and remain highly suspicious. After all, the uninhabited island was too close to the Huashu Kingdom, one of the world's top powers. According to the current world order, the world was divided into 2 superpowers and several powerful countries, with the Huashu Kingdom and Colombia as the absolute rulers. No one dared to trespass on their territory. Zhang Yi helped the lizard people by letting Deng Shintong use his intelligence network to exaggerate the size of the treasure. He also vaguely hinted that the Huashu Kingdom did not dare to leave its waters easily because it had been hit by a series of tsunamis from the Wulwan Empire. What he wanted was for the mutants from other countries to take action. Zhang Yi glanced at Deng Shintong. That's a trap, and they're definitely after me. But in order to lure me there must be something really good inside. The problem is, I don't want to take the risk, but I want the treasure. What do you suggest? He propped his cheek up with one hand and said with a smile. Besides, if we play along with them and give them hope that they can kill me, it will ease the burden on the Huashu Kingdom. Zhang Yi didn't want the Wulwan Empire to use its weather weapons again to attack the coastline of the Huashu Kingdom. Deng Shintong looked at Zhang Yi in confusion. With your current strength, unless the Hades gatekeeper himself takes action, who could threaten your life? Zhang Yi nodded. I'm afraid that the Hades gatekeeper is waiting for me there. Moreover, apart from him, the Wulwan Empire's advanced weapons are also a very big threat. I won't take the risk. Isn't it a good idea to let them scout the way first? Zhang Yi said with a smile. Just at that moment, Lu Karen walked into the living room from behind, her forehead covered with fine beads of sweat, but her face full of excitement and joy. Brother, Ling's energy recharge is complete. Zhang Yi's eyes widened, and he sat up straight on the sofa with a whoosh. Let's go see. Deng Shintong was full of curiosity and raised his hand and asked, Can I go see? Zhang Yi glanced at him with a smile and said, Not yet. If she's exposed too early, she'll lose her mystery. Deng Shintong was a little helpless. Hey, I hope that one day, you can trust me as much as you trust these lovely girls. After all, I've been completely open with you. Zhang Yi nodded. Then you go get surgery first and become a girl before we talk about it. Deng Shintong waved his hands repeatedly. There are so many good girls waiting for me in this world, forget it. In Zhang Yi's heart, Deng Shintong's trust level was only second place. He was a reliable partner, but he hadn't reached the level of Zhou Qi and Uncle Yu. That was because they had been through thick and thin together for 4 years. Zhang Yi and Ling arrived at the underground studio. Ling stood in a charging chamber connected to many pipes that supplied her with a steady stream of energy. There were many complicated instruments around her, displaying strings of characters that Zhang Yi couldn't understand. Zhang Yi asked, What is Ling's current energy level? Lu Karen scratched his head, somewhat embarrassed, and said, Ling told me herself. According to human standards, she can exert the combat power of a mutant with an ability index of 55,000. But it will start to decline after no more than 24 hours. Even so, we have already provided her with all the energy we could squeeze out. Surprisingly, the spiritual energy provided by Deng's technology has been very effective. The remaining energy cannot be squeezed out because it is needed to maintain the Mechanical Legion and the super warships. In fact, this battle alone has almost depleted all of our previous reserves. When Lu Karen said this, she stared carefully at Zhang Yi, really afraid that he would faint. In the 4th year of the apocalypse, Zhang Yi had worked hard to accumulate a large amount of wealth. Whether it was the Yuan stone veins or the fossil fuels plundered from various places, everything had been consumed in the preparations for this huge war. If a hamster finds that its food for the winter is exhausted, it may give up its life. She was worried that Zhang Yi would also collapse. But Zhang Yi appeared extremely calm. The ability index is 55,000 points. According to the information we have obtained, it is more than enough to deal with the Hades gatekeepers. It doesn't matter. All of our reserves are for saving our lives at critical moments. It's all worth it. He still sighed. But I finally understand what Ling meant. The tangible is powerless, the intangible is powerful. The most powerful energy in this world is the power of the human heart, which is the power of the ether. It sounds extremely terrifying. But you have to know that a mutant with an ability index of 55,000 has destructive power that far exceeds that of all the Reapers of Love in the entire Huashu Kingdom combined. Then you would understand how worthwhile the consumption of these resources is. It doesn't matter. Zhang Yi walked over and stroked Ling's artistic human body, a hint of passion in his eyes. As long as we can win this war and plunder all the resources of a powerful underground civilization, then we can get back 10 times, 100 times what we've spent. A cold voice rang out, Please take your hands off me, thank you. Ling's cold gaze stabbed Zhang Yi like a sword. Zhang Yi hurriedly moved his hands away from Ling's perfectly sculpted thighs. Sorry. He couldn't help but mutter to himself, It's just a shell, why does she care so much?